We got ourselves a locked up air conditioning compressor pulley. It's locked up. I took the belt off. On this one, you just need to put a 3/8 ratchet in that hole there to loosen the tensioner. So AC system's already evacuated. Nothing in there. Basically, we just want to get this air compressor gone. So here's our bypass pulley right here. It's going to go on like that. We got some new hardware here. So let's get it all taken apart. This one's going to be really quick. No matter what AC bypass you're trying to do on whatever vehicle, it's going to be pretty similar. Put some on like 3.8 liters, you know, some Chevy cars, stuff like that. They make them for a lot of vehicles. So this is just going to go out of the way for now. We got our belt out of the way too. We'll keep all our hardware right there. Now this one's got 13 millimeters on that and 13 millimeters all the way around. We'll get this wiring harness unclipped. It's pretty stiff. There we go. Harness out of the way. Now the power steering fill tube connects to this. So we're gonna have to get that out of the way. I believe it's a 10 millimeter. This is a little more difficult to do on sideways engines. Typically you don't have as much room. This is one of the easier ones to do. Everything's right up top. So you don't want to spend $200, $300, $400 on AC and you don't really care about AC. Bypass pulley kit. I think this one was about 60 bucks. One last bolt to take off here. You want to make sure you put your kit on the right way. There we go, last bolt. Now we can take this compressor. We got a harness on the back of it here. A little pressure sensor. Pop that harness off the back. Compressor's out of the way. Just like that, wham bam. So for this one, I do believe, yeah, it seems like it should go on this way. But if you put it on that way, your pulley's facing down too much. It actually goes on this way, which means this bolt's in your way. Kind of stupid. Why didn't they make it fit on these 3 bolts here? Whatever. They messed up on this design. So we're going to take that 10 millimeter bolt out right there on the power steering fill tube. Let's see if I can get this camera straight. There we go. Alright, so we'll grab that. We got our 10 mil socket always in our pocket. Yeah, it's not a 10 mil. It's smaller. Let's grab a 9 millimeter. 9 millimeter doesn't fit on it either. That's pretty weird. Let's grab a 3/8. Maybe somebody's changed this bolt before. All right, 3/8 doesn't fit on it either. Do I have a crack in my 10 mil? Possibly. The 10 mil might be worn out, that Depot one. Turn that guy back in. All right, let's try a different 10 millimeter. There we go. Yeah, it looks like that socket is about done for then. Must have recently cracked it. I just used that. There we go. We got our power steering fill tube out of the way. Now we can put our air compressor doohickey on there. We're going to use some of this hardware provided. It comes with 2 different sets. You got to figure out which one you have. It's going to be these guys. Yeah, those guys thread in. That's weird. And these washers in this package don't even fit over these bolts. There's something funny going on here. There we go. Oh, we got 2 sets of washers. Why did they give us 2 sets of washers? All right, we gotta push this fill tube out of the way while we tighten this sucker down. If you use the other bolts, it looks like you need to put the spacers. It came with little spacers around the bolts, but if you have to use the bigger bolts, you just kind of got to figure these kits out, unless they come with instructions, you know. I like to call them destructions. Let's get our last washer here. So we get bonus extra hardware. Let's go. Hardware's always handy. I mean, I could cut out a notch in this bypass pulley so that power steering fill tube fits in there. I'm not gonna do that. All right, I gotta figure out what size we got here. I got a 17 millimeter with this Dorman kit. This is a Dorman kit. Dorman makes some good stuff. I like Dorman products. And wham bam, we are bypassed. I'll show you how to put the belt back on. But this is pretty jiggly here. This power steering fill tube. I want to throw a zip tie on it or something. I don't know why they didn't just design this bypass kit just a little differently so that everything worked well together. You know, I would have made the triangle coming out on the inside of the motor instead of the outside, so you didn't have to mess up with that power steering. But even if you did that, I mean, even if you kept it the same way, you could at least put a notch in it for that power steering fill tube. Kind of funny. Nice and tight. Nice and tight. Nice and tight. All right. Now we've got a diagram for our belts, Rowdy. Oh, this came to me without the top half of the shroud on. Looks like we got 10 millimeter bolts. That's how you take the shroud off. It bolts in 2 bolts down in the bottom, couple bolts up front, goes over the clutch fan. And we got a belt routing diagram. It goes AC to power steering, to water pump, to crank, to tensioner, to alternator, to idler. See if we can see that. There we go. Now it's on camera. You can pause it there if you need it. Bada boom. So they only gave me, looks like 4 out of the 6 bolts. I did not take this off. You got 1 extra bolt from that power steering fill tube. All right, so we're gonna route our belt. Just like that. Now it's kind of tricky to get over the crankshaft. You want to start with the crankshaft just because it likes to be a pain with this fan in the way. Make sure you're over the crank. That's the toughest part. We're on the water pump, power steering, bypass bullet, pulley, alternator, and we're not on the idler. That's where this is going to come in. We've got our 3/8 ratchet. We're going to put it in the slot and be going left counterclockwise to decompress that tensioner, and then slide the belt over the alternator. Make sure everything's in its grooves. It looks good. See, if we put the bypass pulley on the other way, it would be too low. We'd have a ton of slack in our belt. Now we got some extra hardware. Don't need it no more. In case they do want to install AC at some point, I'm going to give them these bolts back. And I'm going to cap off the AC lines so that it doesn't get moisture contamination in there. So what we got to do now is just belts on, bypass pulleys on. We've just got to get this shroud put back together. Fit it down in there where it goes. Now there's these little dowels broken off on this side. Oh my God. Can't forget my hardware that I had sitting here. And we dropped a socket down there. We'll fish that out with a magnet. All right, so we just got to pop this shroud back on with the bolts, and we're bypassed. Thanks for watching, guys.